Good morning and welcome to the room. I am your host, Favour Obasi-ike, and happy Friday. I'm excited you're here. I'm excited you're going to be spending some time with us today. And we're going to do this for I would say about an hour. Yeah, we're going to make this an hour for sure. And in this hour, we're going to learn some things. And some of these things that you're going to learn are going to help you gain some really cool insights about some things that you can learn about. I want to share with you something today that, really made a lot of sense. I'm going to put this up here. So it's SEO Context Marketing Club, Clubhouse audio. Now, this is like one of the craziest parts about what I'm noticing with, you know, creating content and also showing up online, being very, intentional. And these are the things that I want you to look at, right? And look at it from here in this sense, right? It's it's gonna be dope. It's going to be dope today because I feel like you're going to learn some things that will give you some clarity, and we'll be able to touch base on LinkedIn SEO, email, AI, and podcast strategies for creators. Because I'm going to give you like a quick, all through step, if I can call it that, just to, give people more attention to detail and giving you, insight to where you want to, pretty much, reconnecting. And this is something that I believe that you can actually start to do for yourself and start to create for long-term growth. So LinkedIn SEO, email, AI, and podcast strategies for creators. How do we focus on this? Now, the first thing I wanted to say is this: when you are using LinkedIn is 100% a social media platform, but it's also a hybrid if we're thinking about AI and podcasting, because they have RSS feed linking and they also have AI compatibility. So if I'm looking at this directly, I know that with LinkedIn, you can have a, profile that is pretty much based on your account being just a regular account. You can have a premium account. You can also have a creator account. That's what I have. So when you have a creator account, you start to, get more and more details into those spaces. So when you are thinking long term about your, your content, your business, your structure, there are some things that you want to consider as a business, and your business can start to get more traffic with your LinkedIn, with your, with your SEO, with your storytelling, with your structure. So this is some of the things that you may have to look into, long term, and ask yourself, okay, where am I going to, connect these dots? Who am I going to connect with in the first place? If I'm connecting with these people, how are they finding me on LinkedIn? How are they finding me on these platforms? So we are going to talk about this today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, contribute, and I'll definitely be able to respond back to you, because the things that we are looking at right now, especially for 2024, going into 2025, it has a lot to do with, where you are, increasing traffic, where you are gaining momentum, and who you're building with. What are you building for? So this is going to be a very exciting approach as well that we're going to look through. So welcome, D. Good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining. LinkedIn is beautiful because it's a place to connect. It's a place to it's a place to really reflect, if I can put it that way. LinkedIn is a place where you can learn. You can learn so many things about LinkedIn. You can build, into systems on LinkedIn. And the SEO on LinkedIn is just beautiful because it's like when you use LinkedIn to with the words, and that's the thing about LinkedIn, is the words, the intentionality of the words that you use. Because if you use something on LinkedIn and you're posting online, how are people going to connect with you, right? Welcome to Clubhouse, Dean. I see you got a party hat. Just wanted to welcome you. Welcome, John. Good morning. Everybody's going to really, learn something new today with LinkedIn, because it's an untapped resource, and it's a place where you can really use, all these four, actually I'll call it the big five, components as well, that will contribute to your, long-term success, because you're using LinkedIn for SEO purposes. So what does that mean? You're using LinkedIn to build the attention, right? You're building LinkedIn to create a new level of communication between you and the person. Now, with email, people naturally, from what I've seen on LinkedIn, they will reach out to you in your LinkedIn DM, but more often than not, from what I've noticed in this past few months lately, because I've been getting a lot of, requests on LinkedIn and connections on LinkedIn, and, seeing how LinkedIn has really morphed is huge. So when I get messages on my email, when I get emails, they come from LinkedIn, but they rather email me before, sending me a message on LinkedIn. And then I'd have to go to LinkedIn to connect with them. So it's weird. They would find me on LinkedIn, send me an email, then we'll connect on LinkedIn after the meeting. So it's quite of a different, way they do it, but it's also good, because it shows the connections on, where we're going. Yesterday I met with someone who found me on LinkedIn. They do billboards, and she actually has her own company, and it's a whole new world for her, and they're dealing with robots. They're putting robots in car wraps and stuff. I'm like, what? I didn't even know you guys use robots with. And they're like, yeah, grocery stores, and they're using it around, like, what did she say? I wrote it down. We had a meeting yesterday. Yeah, she said the major DMAs. I just checked my notes. Yeah, in the major DMAs, that's where it's happening, in campuses and schools. And Gen Zs are the ones that are really interacting with these brands and this thing. So it's changing, Like, I was surprised, and I asked her, "How did you find me?" LinkedIn. I was like, "Wow." So that's when I've been seeing it happen, and it's not because of just posting online on LinkedIn, but it's really making people feel like if you make a post, they really want to read what you're saying, because what you added to their timeline adds value to their day. That's the most important thing, because everybody's writing something on LinkedIn. How many people are you reading from on LinkedIn? How many people are actually reading through? Because when you think about your LinkedIn too, when you look at your impressions, it's not just, oh, somebody clicked on your profile and disappeared. How long did they stay on your profile? How far down did they scroll? You probably may not know that information because you don't have a heat map on your LinkedIn profile, but you can have a way of showing that within your own, connection. So building your business on a solid rock with LinkedIn is a great tool. And when you're thinking about AI with LinkedIn, let me just bring in AI just a little bit. When you're bringing in AI with LinkedIn, you're using AI when you're thinking about the contributions you're making. Now, those may not be like a complete, huge factor. Welcome, Soda. It may not be like a complete option or complete, but you're essentially using AI to contribute to different stories, different connections, and those LinkedIn contributions ends up on your profile. Welcome, Jen Copy. So you're using LinkedIn AI to build conversations, right? And then the podcast piece is that you can add your RSS feed from your podcast to your LinkedIn company profile. That's one of the most That's a genius thing. The only two platforms I've said before that can do this that I know of are Pinterest and LinkedIn. That's why those are like our four cornerstones, right? Google, which is website, email, LinkedIn, and Pinterest, because those things are huge. They're great platforms, right? Yesterday I talked about, Clubhouse, and I said, okay, you know what? It's going to be good for us to think about how we put out, information on Clubhouse, and people want to learn about, rooms on Clubhouse from Google. So I said, you know what? Instead of just doing rooms on Clubhouse and leaving them on Clubhouse, take them to Google. So I actually said that yesterday, and here's an example. If you click the link above. Hey, Soda. Hey, John. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday.
Thanks for joining. Yes, so this is definitely a great topic, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. The much you've heard, LinkedIn SEO, email AI podcast, for creators especially, what do you see, or how do you use LinkedIn? And so that we can start with you, how do you use LinkedIn if you do, and any of those other components as well that add to your creativity?
Well, I feel very conflicted about LinkedIn because like my LinkedIn has my real name and I don't go by my real name like on with my podcast and everything. So I'm just like trying to figure out the best way to like um I have this issue with Facebook too, but like with Facebook I have like a business profile thing, and so it's not as obvious. I mean, you could still find me through Facebook, and it's not like I'm being super secretive or anything, but it just like I try to keep the things separate. So I don't know. I'm just conflicted about LinkedIn.
Why? What's the major thing that is like giving you that drawback?
Yeah, just if somebody types in my last name, like I'm just worried that, if there's any something controversial or I say or anything like that, like that, it could come backfire on me. So I just like more stress of being careful, and like because I am the only one in the world with my like real name, like I don't know, it concerns me.
That's deep. I think so. That I think we're on the same boat when it comes to the only one having the same the same last name, because mine is kind of the same too. It's very unique, so you don't see that everywhere. Normally you see the first half, but you won't see it both. It's a compound. So I get what you're saying, but I don't think LinkedIn should be a place where you can hide that or change that, because if you're authentic and you're using it, like you're using Threads, you're using Clubhouse, it shouldn't be a thing if if you're not gonna say anything at all that's gonna do that. I mean, because if you speak well and you're good and you have a podcast, you're out there, you're using it for that reason, and it's strictly for that purpose, then you shouldn't worry about the rest. But I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I had to delete a lot of my stuff on like TikTok and stuff because once I like kind of added my podcast to or like my um social media stuff to LinkedIn, because I did have some controversial stuff that I'm like I don't want to get my husband fired. So, you know. So yeah, trying to find that balance of keeping your um like legal information and your business stuff like separate. So I don't know.
Okay. No, thanks for that. So I appreciate that. John, what about you?
Yeah, I use LinkedIn a lot. As you know, I've discussed it, and I have a simple philosophy, and it's under my real name, and then I have a page for my podcast. And generally, the one of my real name is far more advanced. And I'm now writing an article every day. That's my goal for the next all of October is writing an article on LinkedIn, Newsbreak, Medium, Substack, and a blog entry on my website every day to increase traffic. So one of the things is this: I'm going to get your attention with the first four words I say. I just wrote an article and I emailed you that to Favor, but getting people's attention with the first four words is the most important thing. If you have something you want them to notice you. You have a product or service, something that's going to that's going to change their lives, get their attention. And I don't post controversial stuff because my opinion doesn't matter. It's really about my consumer. If I want to change their lives, I need to get their attention and what I think is of no consequence. So I don't post it whatsoever. But LinkedIn has been an invaluable tool for discoverability, for directing traffic, and also the email newsletter. The article feature is phenomenal and it's free. You can use a free platform like I do. I don't even pay for it. So that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a good one. It's true. When you're using it correctly and you're using it for the right reasons and the right people are, connecting with you. So it's just a matter of, where can you be able to get the best result and who are you connecting with the most to get the best response. So it definitely has a lot to play with those things too. Yeah. Okay. No, I appreciate that. I'm thinking too with podcast, when you think about podcast and video, have you thought about using the video? I know you don't do video much, but just the audio, let me say audiograms.
Yeah, I did audiograms before and I did video before, and neither one of them changed the metrics one bit. Not, it didn't increase listenership one bit. It didn't raise my revenue one bit. As a matter of fact, it required more time. And I'll give an example for a video. And I don't have to get all dressed up, but let's just say you've got to prepare. I got to shower. I got to shave. I got to get dressed up. I got to get the videos up. Let's just say that it takes 2 hours. And then you've got a 10-minute video and then 10 more minutes involved. So let's just say your time is worth $30 an hour. So you probably got $80 of your time involved in creating a video. You post it up there and it does nothing. Nothing. Even audiograms were a total waste of my time. However, putting up a post that's public domain information and it gets incredible engagement, grows your page, grows your audience, and it took 3 minutes of your time to do. Guess which wins that battle every day? I'm not anti-video. I just got nothing that's appealing, and I don't want to spend the time creating all that extra work.
That makes sense. So that what's wrong?
No, just that he he put all that effort into doing the video and then it didn't pay off. Because I don't know, for me, like, if when I do it just audio, like, versus video, the video ones, even if it's just like a cartoon kind of moving around a little bit, like, they do way, way better than the audio only ones. But it's because my audience is mostly artists or visual people, and they like to have that visual aspect, even if it's like they're not watching the whole thing, and they're mostly listening. But yeah, so I think it really depends on the audience, and I think it's awesome that John, like, knows his audience well enough that they, you know, it doesn't really matter if whether it's video or not.
I would just say this: we don't know. We haven't. We think we know till we look at the insights. We look at the insights of videos, and what most people find, and I'm not saying it's the case with soda, but most people find is when they look at the insights, the overwhelming majority are previews, are less than 3 second views. That means it's the thumb scroll. People don't even watch a video, but you think you're accomplishing something. Secondly, look at the major players who are doing really, really well in the digital space. Daily Mail, for example, has 22 million plus followers on Facebook. They don't do one stinking video about themselves, not one, not one. So it's a time versus reward. Is it? the reward worth the time? For me, the answer has been clearly no.
No, I love that. No, thank you for that. The time is the biggest thing, because if you start looking at 24 hours a day and thinking about what you can achieve in that day, and it goes online, it changes, especially on LinkedIn. Because when you are showing up on LinkedIn and you're giving people content, then even though you may not see the direct effect on LinkedIn, off LinkedIn, you get a lot of responses. So if somebody wants to connect with you, they will want to send you an email, or they'll want to, check in later. And because you have a podcast, because that's this part for creators. If you have a podcast, it grows. Welcome, Nikki, I see as well. Fazal, Sitar, and Empress, and Nezuko. Thanks for being here. You have to look at these things as a creator on LinkedIn for good morning, and you have to look at it as a creator, because the creativity of what you put out on LinkedIn is what's going to determine how people interact with you, right? And it's a whole different ball game. One of the greatest things that I've learned on LinkedIn is that when you're using LinkedIn, you're using LinkedIn as, I can call it a lighthouse, because that is where people would justify connecting with you. Like yesterday, John, when I was leaving your room, I was helping my cousin. She was getting her car sold. And I had to, because she didn't want to, be in the car with a random stranger, a guy. So I came to help her out so that, I'm in the car and, make sure everything is good, because he wanted to test drive the car. So, getting there, I was like, do you know this person? I was like, do you know, how did you all meet? She was like, Craigslist. I was like, oh God. So we started like trying to figure it out, because I didn't know the information. As I was asking her, I said, do you even know what he looks like? Then she showed me a picture of his LinkedIn. I was like, oh, okay. Like I calmed down after that. So that to me was, and then he's a really cool guy. This guy's from Ukraine. He's doing well. He's an elderly guy. He's on his own thing. He's doing his own thing. He's living his life. Great guy. And that's how it went yesterday, but it was because of LinkedIn. Now, if I saw Facebook or Instagram, I'll be okay too. But because LinkedIn is so strong, and then we're dealing with transactions, that's money. LinkedIn is like a safe ground. So that's why she was so comfortable, but she needed a guy to, be there. So I said, yeah, I'll pull up. So that's where LinkedIn comes in, because LinkedIn is that great resource that makes you feel like, okay, there's some conversation we're going to have here. That if they're going to hire you for a job, they're going to look at your LinkedIn, how you present yourself, how you've connected with people. That's your online portfolio, and your website is also your online portfolio, but it's done a little differently. That's why, when we build out, especially with Pinterest, we build out on Pinterest, we build out on LinkedIn, we build out on email, we build out on your website. It's like a huge cycle effect that takes a whole new world for you to explore, because the people you're connecting with also are very specific to the goals. How are you connecting with people? Where are you connecting with them? Where is it coming from? How are they even finding you? Because when you have a LinkedIn premium account, it tells you how they found you. So I would be seeing people found me through the LinkedIn feed. Some people will search for me directly. Some people search for me through companies. So like the people I connected on Zoom, they asked them, how do you find me on LinkedIn? I'm like, okay, LinkedIn, how? They said, yeah, they'll look for companies and they'll look for founders, and then they'll check the website and check to see if there's any content. So they see that I have, written content, so it's there, right? Speaking of content, if you have a Clubhouse room, this is a quick pro tip. And that's why I'm about to change this link, but I want you guys to click this link if you haven't. If you use Clubhouse for audio, this is perfect, because if you click this link in here, you'll see at the top and scroll down, you're going to see the Clubhouse room. So people, how Clubhouse is on web now, right? You can definitely see, Clubhouse, and see Clubhouse off the app, because people want to also listen to it. So, this Clubhouse web. So if you're using it, use that extension on your blogs, use it out there for people to hear, because if it's open source, then more people can connect with you outside Clubhouse. Because I've been trying to figure out, how do you connect with people outside Clubhouse, you know, that don't even have access to this room, that don't follow, but they need this information too. So it's very interesting to see it. So it's pretty really good as well. And I think that's also a good way of, connecting with people, and also, giving people the reason to, it's kind of like a dichotomy, but I also feel like if you really are authentic, then, those connections can also help your business, go to the next level. So looking at that is a huge, huge factor as well. Soda or John, are you using AI at any capacity for your business, for your brand?
Very, very little.
And I use it quite a bit. So just to give a brief rundown, like I sent Favor an email with articles I did. And the reason why I do articles a lot is the backlinks and the high domain authority will increase your searchability and discoverability in search engines. So what I'll do is I create the article or show notes from an episode, put in the filler content I need, then I'll write all that down. Then what I'll do is I'll take and go to ChatGPT and rewrite this as a news article, usually twice, copy and paste that, and then create a news break article. Then I do the same thing. I copy and paste that. I go Claude AI and say rewrite this as a blog post. And from that, I copy and paste that, and that becomes my Medium article. And the same thing I'll do is I'll take that from Claude AI and I go back to ChatGPT, for example, or Road Train 22, and I do some editing, but start with the original content. And then I'll take that information, put it in ChatGPT, and rewrite this as a lifestyle news article, and take that and create a LinkedIn article post. So the main thing is review the content after it comes out, but if you start with original content first, like I do, it turns out better than if you use it for creating content. So I use the time-saving features so I can get more done.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that, John. I got your email too. Just responded. Yeah, definitely. I'm happy that, we're using these platforms to create more attention and build more retention over time. Because, LinkedIn is a great platform to really show up as a person of influence. When you go to someone's LinkedIn, you can pretty much follow anybody on LinkedIn, right? But it's like two levels. There's follow and there's connect. So some people you have to even know their email to connect with them. It's that deep. Some people you would have to, have a premium account to connect with them. Some people you have to connect without a note or connect with a note. So it depends. Some people you just connect right away. So if you're connecting with those people, it's also like, how are you showing up on your timeline, and who is also responding back to your feed? Because you might get a LinkedIn post and sometimes people don't get any responses, impressions, comments. That doesn't mean the algorithm isn't working. It just means that you've probably not maximized your LinkedIn. And I'll give you guys one strategy you can use. This one strategy should be a strategy that you should, try out. And I hope this, helps you as well long term, for how you use LinkedIn. So one of the fastest ways that I used to grow my LinkedIn account, because I was stuck at 6,000 followers for like probably 6, 7 years. I was like, this is not this. Something gotta change. So this year I made the intention. I took that intentionality upon myself to say, by the end of this year, I should be at least at 10,000 followers. That was my goal. I was at 6K by January 2024. I just crossed over 10,000 followers, I think a day or two ago. And now I'm like, okay, benchmark achieved. Now we got to get to the next level. But these people that are already here, what are they going to learn from me? What am I going to teach them? What do they need to know? So I went into my analytics and I said, okay, let me do a 365 day calendar stretch. And I noticed majority of the people who are following me and connected to me want to learn about how to advertise their business, advertising services, more than SEO services. That's why you guys are hearing me talk about billboards like crazy now, because it falls into the SEO piece. Even though you're using Pinterest or advertising or emails or podcasts, those things still add up. So I'm seeing advertising services. I'm like, okay. So what I've decided to do now is throughout the whole year, what I was doing was reposting. And this is something about LinkedIn. If you post on your account and you leave it on your timeline, it's your connections that will see it, right? So if you don't have connections, they're not seeing it. So who's seeing your post when you post without connection? So what I did was I realized I always knew this, but I didn't utilize it fully till this year. LinkedIn groups are powerful because when you use LinkedIn groups, you have mutual friends, right? You have mutual connections already, and then you also have mutual groups. Those are two things. People kind of underlook the mutual groups because if I'm in a group with you, that means I'm in your community, right? That means I have the same interest as you. That means we think the same way on LinkedIn. So it's a professional network that has really good clues. So I said, okay, I don't have many groups. I have some, but I don't have many. So let me really go into studying the groups that are on LinkedIn that I can actually connect with. So I followed about, I think, 10 groups on LinkedIn on top of the ones that I used to have, and I started reposting like if I would make a repost, I would repost it to the group. And I would do that to every time. So if I have one post, I'll repost. It's tedious, but if you do it for a little bit, it's like starting a car. Once you start the car and it goes through the ignition and you're good. But the kickstart is like the generator push is a crazy part. So you send out repetitive groups, and you send it out to the point where that they actually start seeing your post. How you know they're seeing your post is that they're going to repost your post from that group because they don't follow you on your connection. So they're not going to see you on their timeline, but they're going to see your post in their timeline because they follow a group, right? So that's how you're able to build it out like that. And if you're able to do it that way, it can definitely give you a lot of attention, over time. Have you tried groups, John?
I've done it sparingly recently. I've got to get back more into it. And again, it's like you, it's a time management thing more than anything else. But I will certainly dive into it again and see if it has a profound impact.
No, definitely. Please let me know. That would definitely be a great way to test and see, how it works as well. So that I would love for you to try LinkedIn. You would just love it, even if it's not even from your personal profile, but like your company profile or your showcase page, and operate from there for your podcast. It would do a lot of good for you. So yeah.
I use it sometimes. I've done like audio rooms with people on LinkedIn before, but I think I just get like the interface is a little confusing for me, but I think once I play with it more, it'll make more sense.
Yeah, definitely. No worries. I'm glad that you're able to, at least try it, rather than just like, no, I don't want to do it. So it's good. No problem. Okay. Does anyone have any question for me in the chat? The chat has been quiet today. It's a Friday. I know LinkedIn is like territories on, uncharted, but if you think about LinkedIn and want to use it for your business, for your growth, then definitely this should be something that you can plan to do in advance and actually get a better result by using it
I
for
have a
yourself.
I have a
Yeah, go ahead.
question, actually, Favor, if that's okay. So, let's say you're an engineer. All right, that's your profession. And then on the side, you have a podcast about, let's say, comic books. how do you go about having your podcast thing, but also, make it professional for the engineer aspect?
Wait, say that again with the engineer
Yeah,
aspect?
like, so you're an engineer, friend who's an engineer
Mm-hmm.
and has a podcast about like comic books and cartoons and stuff. So, how do you kind of merge if you have two, if you have a profession and then do podcasting on the side? What's the best way to manage like the two things together on LinkedIn?
Oh, I see now. Okay. Hmm. Uh, that's a good one. I think the best way to do it, yeah, okay, I got it. So what you can do is if you're an engineer, you have podcast, then I'm sure your engineering, degree, career, pathway, all of that would be within the experience section of your LinkedIn. Then, if you're thinking about podcasts, I would use a newsletter because I want to make it simple. I don't really want to complicate it. I would technically create a newsletter for the podcast so that the podcast has its own newsletter on LinkedIn that has the exact name of the show as a title of each publication or edition. That's what they call them on LinkedIn. So if you have that consistently, then that also gives you leverage over time with your business. So I don't want to complicate it, but that's the best way I would put it so that it's not just posting it, but you can operate your podcast from the newsletter and then connect to the subscribers who are also outside your network that still connect to you because those newsletters end up on Google. So you're not really working internally, you're kind of going through the outside layer.
I like that because like I prefer newsletters like through something like LinkedIn than, getting the email, and so I feel like that's a good route to go. So I'll try that.
Here's a suggestion what I do, and for me it doesn't really matter because I'm retired, and that's what I do. But there is a mindset that people have to put their name on their podcast. They do not. If you want to keep this separate, my podcast is known as a law enforcement talk radio show and podcast. You won't find my name. You won't find my image anywhere. My Facebook, my LinkedIn on that is pretty much faceless. So in the case where someone's an engineer, and they a professional thing, and they do a podcast, there's no reason in the world why their name has to be on that podcast. Yeah, they can find it. You can search and find it, but we don't have to have the name of the show being comic books with Joe Blow when Joe Blow's a professional engineer. It can just be the comic book experience. We tend to equate that what Joe Rogan does is what we all should do. Joe Rogan is a different atmosphere. He also has a crew doing things that we can't afford, we don't have. And he paid all the dues of acting, being an MMA fighter, all that other stuff, stand up comedian, being on television, all that stuff before he launched his podcast. And his podcast in the early days sucked. So we don't have to associate our name with it.
Love that. Does that help, Soda?
Yeah, that helps a lot because yeah, I'll talk to my engineer friend about it because he's still in the early phases and trying to figure out what to do. So that was really good advice from both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that helped. And welcome, Zizi. Thanks for being here. See you in the building, Carolyn. And I see a lot of people with the tickets. So please cash in your ticket at the very top of the house so that you can join the marketing club. We are closing on 350K members. We're at 349.7K. So please join us and be part of the conversation. We'd love to have you here and give you all the information that you need. So definitely, this is great. I'm glad we're able to talk about this and be more, specific with how we use LinkedIn, especially with emails. When you have even going a little bit deeper into the company profile and the newsletter, when you have LinkedIn, and I love your question, Nick, about going viral on LinkedIn. I'm gonna come to that. When you have a company profile on LinkedIn and you put that on your, how do I put this? When you have a LinkedIn company profile and you create a lead, there's something called lead center, something like that, but you see the word lead in the settings, and that allows you to create lead forms for your podcast, for your company profile. And then that's a way people can ask, you can ask them questions. If you're creating events, also that's a good way to do it in advance. So when you're creating those things and you're putting those LinkedIn pieces to your puzzle, right? You're ultimately creating opportunities for your business to get more attention. Welcome, Kathy, because you're gaining in experience what people are learning from you through yours. So when you start giving people content on your company profile and you start reposting those to groups, reposting those to your platforms, then your LinkedIn starts to pick up that momentum. Because when you start noticing that your LinkedIn starts having more than 100 impressions, that's a good indicator, because that 100 impressions can turn to 300 in the next day, by the next day. It can turn to 500, it can turn to 1,000. So when you have 100 impressions and it hits over 100, that's a good sign, because most impressions end up at like 8. I remember I used to have 13 impressions, 2 impressions, 5 impressions. That was back then. But now when you have 100,000 impressions, 10,000 impressions organically, then it's because you are contributing to the community. You're making comments. Like if you make a comment, tag the person that you found that comment. You don't just repost it. Repost it, add your information on there, add value to the conversation, and then add it to your timeline. What I realize is most people, they love that. So if I know that my community loves email marketing, they love advertising services, then I'll give them information about those things so it can make their own experiences better. Now, on the point of going viral on LinkedIn, I wouldn't want to say going viral, because if you want to go viral on LinkedIn, I don't know, I don't have the answer, honestly. But I can definitely say, if you want to be relevant and sustainable on LinkedIn, then your videos on LinkedIn would have to make sense when it comes to the first 3 seconds and the last 3 seconds of your video, because the first 3 seconds of your video gives people perspective on what you're really talking about, because they're going to hear 3 ways to build a business, or 3 email marketing tips, or 3 advertise. So if I came on video and I said, hey, here are 3 ways to advertise your business without spending too much money on Google Ads, people will be like, huh? So that has really caught their attention, because I know my audience is looking for advertising service tips. So I'm coming in with the knowledge of making them feel better, because I'm not just shooting blanks. So it's better to show up with the videos after you've looked at your analytics to know what they're looking for, and then go online and see what they're using it for. Use hashtags. People follow hashtags on LinkedIn. So if you have a hashtag that's on LinkedIn and you see followers, follow that hashtag and see why people are following it. Because chances are the people that are following those hashtags, are going to learn from you too. So those are really good things to look into as a business, because that's just the that's just the way things can really grow for you if you think long term on how your business can grow. So yeah, I would say keep it short as well. Don't do long videos on LinkedIn, especially for the LinkedIn shorts. I call them LinkedIn shorts, but they're LinkedIn videos, because now you have a TikTok, for you page kind of swipe now. I don't know if it's available on everyone's platform, but I got access to it, when they were in beta. So if you have that video icon at the bottom, then that means it's probably public now, so you can swipe up, swipe up, swipe up, and then that's how people get to connect with you on your LinkedIn. And if you use it correctly and give them short videos, 15-second clips, quick ones, right? Then that allows them to go view your profile. Then they'll go see your newsletter. Then they'll see. I think when you're thinking viral, that's what I'm thinking per person. That somebody sees your video, they love what you said, they view your profile, they follow you, they connect with you, and that starts a conversation than just giving them information for free or just feeding them information that they didn't ask for. So that connection on LinkedIn is very important on that too. So that, John, would you like to add on to that?
I had no idea it had the video. I might try that out.
The main thing I would say, Favor, is LinkedIn is a great tool to get exposure for what you do, to get your product, your service, whatever it might be, in front of consumers are looking for that. That's the primary purpose of social media. It's not something that we own, but it's something we can take advantage of and use. And LinkedIn has two features that a lot of people don't talk about. They have the paid membership, which I do not do, and they have the free membership. And what a lot of people don't realize is that LinkedIn has traditionally, in the last 2 years, been the number two or number three most active source of traffic to my website and web presence using Google Analytics. The number one's been Facebook by a long way. But LinkedIn is the top thing, and all these tools are free. You do have to put effort into it to grow it, but it can be well worth it. So if your thing is video, do that. If your thing is email newsletters or articles, do that. If your thing is organic posting, do that, or do a combination of all the above. But take advantage of everything that's available to you that's free. That's what I do, and it works really well. Right now, last time I checked, because I did an article earlier, 10,337 connections, I think, on LinkedIn. And of those, 5,577 are newsletter subscribers. And that email newsletter is free, and I did absolutely nothing to grow it. So take advantage of it. Check it out.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, this is definitely a great room to discuss LinkedIn and the benefits of it. And just things, yeah, it also has audio. We I usually have audio rooms on LinkedIn as a moderator, not as a host, but I'm there on Thursdays. So it's really great. And I think it's called Black AI Think Tank. So it's been really good to use LinkedIn just to connect to different people, and from LinkedIn to Zoom, from Zoom to in person. It's a whole new world, and LinkedIn is a place where you can really connect with people, long term. So this is definitely the point. We need to look at long term and ask ourselves, where are we going, where are we connecting, who are we connecting with, and what are the major results for the drive that takes us to these positions. If we're using AI, for example, if we're using email, if we're connecting with people, use those features, especially even voice. Using voice features is great on LinkedIn, because if you have those voice features and you're using those recorders, welcome, Monty, you're using those recorders, yeah, it will definitely give you long-term results, because people can now hear your voice, they can connect with you. It's more intentional, and then that intention starts to grow over time. So I wanted us to look at LinkedIn differently this year into the new year, and at least start a newsletter, start a podcast, start something that's going to help you. If you have a YouTube channel, come to LinkedIn and talk about it. you know People wonder, oh, they work on LinkedIn. Yes, because your business is a company. So if you can show up as a company on LinkedIn, that's also giving you online Google visibility, online search engine ability, because you have a Facebook, you have an Instagram, you have a LinkedIn, you have a Pinterest, you have a TikTok, you have, places that people can see you. And then that way, that falls back into your page, because you also don't want to have all those social media traffic, big spaces, but not have that on your website. That's really the missed opportunity. So if we're able to capture those and, bring it back into fold, yeah, there's definitely a way for us to fix that in. So I'm glad we're able to talk about this today and, give you some insights on, what are the best next steps, and, what are the things that we have to, look into long term as well. So this was good. So would you like to, say anything before we wrap up? What's the one thing that you can, use this weekend? And then we'll go to you, John.
Yeah, just a good reminder that um, Yeah, to utilize. I like what you were saying about the four corners or the four pillars or whatever of your podcasting business and how LinkedIn is, one of those corners. So, yeah, thank you for the room.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, Favor, you and I are so much in alignment. If you really want to, and this goes to anybody who's doing any business online, podcast is one thing. If you are a blogger, you are an author of a book, or you're a keynote speaker, or a coach, or you sell real estate, whatever it is, it does not matter how good you are. It does not matter how good your content is if people don't know about it. So use LinkedIn, use other social media, pay attention to your search engine stuff. That will pay off big time for you, and you'll attract a larger audience. And you cannot create a conversion unless you have the audience first. A lot of people focus on the sale first when they need to focus on getting the attention of potential consumers first and foremost. The more you do that, the more successful you'll be. And LinkedIn can be a big part of that.
That's so true. Yeah, 100%. Okay. Thank you so much for this insight, and I'm glad we were able to, cover this today. If you're trying to do LinkedIn, please try and start it off today. Use it for the right reason. If you have a channel somewhere, use LinkedIn for connecting with people and posting it out there so that you can get the best result for your business. And I hope you're able to enjoy this. I will definitely be back again, God willing, and we'll be able to have more rooms like this so we can enjoy the conversations we have here online. And if you want to sign up for our workshops, we have some available this month. We have about 5 of them ready to go, and one of them is, of course, there's going to be AI. We've done a podcast one. We're going to do email SEO, and we're going to handle them really well. So if you want to get more information, please click the link above and sign up, and you'll be able to get more insight about that. Until then, take care, everyone, and I'm going to see you guys in the clubhouse streets.